The Holy Book, Sefer Kav Hayashar, Episode 53, Lesson 1. The Holy One, blessed is He, created everything in the world only for His honor. Pirkei Avos 6:11. This is especially true of the human being who is called a minor universe, Tanchuma Pekudei. Man was created only in order that he should serve the Holy One, blessed is He, in fear, awe, and love. And when a person is clothed in the holy raiment of good deeds, that is when he is known as a servant of Hashem. These are the practices that binds a person's body and soul to Hashem's service. Love of Torah, concentration of the heart when fulfilling the commandments, concentration in prayer, guarding the sanctity of Shabbos and Yom Tov, guarding the sanctity of his limbs, guarding the sanctity of his thoughts, guarding the sanctity of the camp, guarding sanctity of rabbinical fences, guarding the sanctity of good character traits. Let us begin with the love of Torah. This means studying only for the sake of the Holy One, blessed is He, and His Shekhinah, and not for personal gain, such as to be considered a scholar or even earn reward in the world to come. Concerning the person who studies for his own benefit and honor, it is stated in Yeshaya 40:6, and all of his loving kindness is like the grass of the field. Tikkunim 30:73b, Tikkunei Zohar Chadash 117a. One must study with joy, for the Shekhinah settles on a person only when he is in a state of joy, not sadness. Shabbos 30b. One must attend the yeshiva of the community's Rav. Rabbi Yaakov Bey Rav wrote concerning that one must attend the yeshiva of the community's Rav. Rabbi Yaakov Bey Rav wrote concerning this that for every day that a man refrained from attending the yeshiva in this world, he will be denied entry in the heavenly academy in the world to come. A Torah scholar must be particularly careful to avoid pride, as we have already discussed in chapter 4. A person must study halacha every day with objective of reading carefully and resolving every difficulty to the very best of his ability. By studying in this manner, he extricates the Shekhinah from the shells of impurity and adorns it. For the letters of the word halacha, Hey, Lamet, Chav, Hey, are the same as the letters of the word hakala, the bride, Priyetz Chaim, Shar, Hanahagas, Halimud. Let him not be ashamed of saying regarding a matter that he has not heard, I have not heard this. Let him study until he sweats, for in this way he shatters the shells of impurity. One must also be careful to avoid becoming angry while engaging in the give and take of the study hall, for this causes a person's wisdom to abandon him. One must not become angry even towards students who fail to understand a matter correctly, as I have already discussed in earlier chapters. One should set aside a special room for study, to be imbued with the sanctity of the study hall. If this is not possible, one should at least set aside a specific corner of the room for his fixed time of study. One's main purpose in studying should be to fashion a throne for the Shekhinah. But if a person is sullied with iniquity and sin, the Shekhinah will not settle upon him, because every transgression is like a thorn pricking at the Shekhinah. For this reason, he should confess his sins before studying, so that he will be able to unify the Holy One, blessed is he, with his Shekhinah in fear and love. If one finds a text with an error in it, one must amend it. As it is written, do not allow injustice to dwell in your tent. Eov 11-14. Nevertheless, one must not make emendations based on judgment alone. The Rambam, Zecher Livracha, writes, Baba Basra 134a, the hand that erases texts without clear proofs should be cut off, and the curse of the rabbis will be upon that hand, so that it will be cut off. If one invests effort in his studies, he will not soon forget them. If he studies in the synagogue, he will not forget his learning. If his tongue becomes parched while studying, but he refrains from interrupting his studies to drink, it is considered atonement for the sin of speaking vanity. Just as one is obligated to fulfill the commandment to be fruitful and multiply in the physical sense, so is one commanded to do so in the spiritual sense by revealing new Torah insights. Through this, one merits the Torah's illuminations. The sages said, acquire for yourself a companion. Pirkei Avos 1.6. This statement is to be taken literally, but it is also a hint that his pen should be one's companion. That is, one should record his insights. There is even a suggestion of this in the Torah. Write this as a remembrance in a book, Shemos 17.14. The word "this" alludes to the Torah, Avodah Zarah 2b, as it states, and this is the Torah, Devarim 4-44. It also states, write them upon the tablet of your heart, Mishlei 7.3. A person must be well-rounded in his learning. That is, he must be fluent in all four levels of interpretation. Pshat, the plain meaning; remez, hints such as numerical values; derush, applications of the various rules of interpretation; and sod, the esoteric meaning. The acronym for these four levels is the word pardes, the orchid. If one fails to study even one of these levels, one must return in another incarnation to complete the task. One should study the 613 mitzvahs regularly. One must set aside fixed times for study every day. These times must be inviolable, so that even if he stands to make a large profit, he must not forego his fixed times. This is indeed the custom in the holy community of Frankfurt. Amen. This should be done out of the love for Hashem and his Torah. One must be careful to study more on Mondays and Thursdays than on other days, having in mind to mitigate the strict judgment that reigns on those days more than others. One must stay far away from the study of philosophy, for it is an alien fire. Concerning this, what is written? Her house inclines towards death. None that go to her return. Mishlei 2.18-19. One should even avoid natural science, as it is illustrated. Rab Moshe Landau, Zecher Livracha, has already warned. One should be careful to study in a room with windows and gaze frequently at the sky, for this aids comprehension. It is forbidden to say something in the name of a particular scholar if there is no tradition that he has ever said it. One must be careful not to speak words of Torah in unclean places. Similarly, one must not speak words of Torah in houses of idolatry. One must not be ashamed to accept the truth, even from the youngest of the young. If one knows that a colleague will be unable to answer a question, he must not ask him, so that he will not be embarrassed, heaven forbid. See what is written in this regard in the Zohar, Parsha Shalach 171a. The agents of judgment held on to a certain child, denying him entry into the heavenly yeshiva. Then the child cried out, sending a shudder through all the members of the yeshiva. The Rosh Yeshiva inquired, "Who is preventing this child of the living God from entering?" Immediately they took hold of the child and brought him before the Rosh Yeshiva, and many members of the yeshiva gathered around. "Open your mouth and recite, O holy son," the Rosh Yeshiva said. But the child replied, "I'm afraid to do so because I really belong in a different yeshiva. But I came here and the agents of judgment apprehended me." "Do not be afraid, O holy son," said the Rosh Yeshiva. "You may stay here for 7 days and bathe every day in the holy dew. Afterwards, they will elevate you to the yeshiva for children." So the child began to discourse, giving 7 interpretations to each of the verses that the Rosh Yeshiva had been discussing, disclosing amazing insights. At that moment, they took the boy's father and crowned him with 70 crowns. The Zohar explains that the agents of judgment detained the boy and wished to afflict him because he had shown a lack of concern for his teacher's honor. He used to ask him difficult questions that the teacher was unable to answer, causing him embarrassment and depression. For this reason, the agents of judgment wished to subject him to harsh punishment. Even though the Rosh Yeshiva apparently saved him, allowing him to remain with him for 7 days, this was actually a form of punishment. For throughout those 7 days, the boy's true form was diminished and he was alienated from his proper place, which caused him much suffering. If even a child had to endure such suffering and the agents of judgment wished to subject him to further affliction, imagine how much greater the punishment must be for an adult who intentionally embarrasses his colleague or mentor. Thus, the sages have said, Pirkei Avos 3.11, one who embarrasses a colleague in public has no portion in the world to come. Therefore, whoever values his soul will be careful not to embarrass anyone.